Hello, this is not a typical video on my channel. It's going to be a quick guide on how to assemble an SR-2M kit for Cyma AEP Glock style pistols. First, I'll give a quick overview of the kit and its features. Then I'll go over the printing requirements, the assembly process, how to use it, and finally a few closing thoughts. The SR-2M kit was designed to keep the original shape and proportions of the real thing. Some of its main features include a folding stock, an opening dust cover, Picatinny rails included in the kit, suppressor, support for any flash hider with a 40mm counterclockwise thread, a working fire selector with both semi-auto and full auto modes, a front grip that can be used either folded or extended, clicky fire mode switches, easy access to the battery, support for higher capacity external batteries, original style markings, easy tracer unit in suppressor installation, and overall simple assembly. All screws required for the build can be found in any regular hardware store. This kit is made for any AEP pistols styled like Glocks. It's been tested on the CM.135S and CM.030 by Cyma. It should also work with other Glock style AEP pistols, though you might need to make some small adjustments. I can't guarantee full compatibility with every model out there. A list of supported models can usually be found in the product description or in reviews from other users. Older AEP models with built-in batteries are not compatible with this kit. Your pistol must allow you to connect an external battery. All parts are numbered. Along with the main parts, there are also optional ones. You only need the main parts to build the kit, but if you want extra features, you can print the optional ones too. I'll talk about those during the assembly. Each part needs to be positioned correctly before printing. In the top right corner of the screen, I'll show how I oriented the parts, but you can place them differently if it works better for you. Parts 6, 9, 22 and 24 are best printed using matte plastic. It gives them a finish that looks more like the real SR-2M. I used PETG and matte PLA filament. The total print time for the main parts on Bamboo Lab A1 printer with 0.16mm layer height is around 28 hours. You'll need about 500 grams of filament. Here's the list of bolts needed to assemble the main SR-2M kit. For the upgrade parts, here's what you'll need. Also, M4x10mm bolts must have a flat head. I recommend looking for Allen key bolts, as some places can be difficult to tighten with a regular screwdriver. I've included a mini screwdriver in the files that should help in these situations. Like the any kit, there may be small issues or things that could be improved. I plan to update the kit over time based on feedback. If you run into any problems, feel free to leave a comment under the video on the product page or send me a message on Instagram. Any changes or upgrades to the build will be added in a pinned comment under the video, so make sure to check that before starting. The kit's price may change in the future. To start the build, take parts 1, 2 and 3. First, check how they fit together. They should go in tightly and all the way. You might need to do a bit of sanding or adjusting if something doesn't align perfectly. Once everything fits well, glue the parts together. Make sure they're glued evenly, with no gaps or wobble. Then insert one M4 bolt to secure the wall piece, but don't tighten the bolts too tight. Check again that everything sits straight. Now install 9 M4 nuts. Next, it's time to mount the kit onto the Glock body. The back part should slide in all the way and sit tight. If it doesn't go smoothly, lightly sand the part and try again. Once installed, the kit should be firmly attached to the gun with no movement or wobble. Now I continue with building the main body. Part 7 goes inside the body, in the rear section. Then I take a few springs. I'm using 9.5 by 16mm springs, but any with similar or larger size will work. I install 3 of them to make the button press feel firmer. The installation might be a bit tricky, but it's made that way to minimize the wobble. Then I secure it from above with an M4 bolt 40mm long. Part 7.1 has a spot for an M4 nut, and the bolt can also be tightened from underneath if that's easier for you. Make sure the button in part 7 moves properly when pressed. Now I install part 6. It means to block hand movement and might feel uncomfortable for some people. If it seems like it won't be convenient for you, feel free to leave it off for now or install it later. I attach it using super glue. Next comes another body section. I insert an M4 bolt 40mm long in the back to connect it to the pistol. Screw it in slowly and carefully to avoid dropping the nut. Then I add a 4 M4 bolts 10mm long. Important, screw them in tightly but not too hard, otherwise the plastic might crack. Also, M4 by 10mm bolts must have a flat head. Now I join parts 8 and 9 and glue them together. Part 8.1 is meant for pistols like the CM.030, models that don't have a Picatinny rail on the bottom. Then I install these parts and fasten them using 4 M4 bolts, 10mm each. Again, tight enough to hold, but not too tight. Now I install parts 11 and 12. They are secured with an M3 nut and a 60mm M3 bolt. You are also supposed to use an M3 washer here. If you don't have one, you can use either part 10 or 10.1. Part 10 has a sharper edge, part 10.1 has a smoother one. I'm using part 10 here. Then I install part 13, 14 and 15. Again, I use an M3 nut and M3 bolt, 16mm, and another part 10. Next, I connect part 16 and 17. I use a 40mm M4 bolt and spring sized 9.5 by 16mm. You can use any similar or slightly larger spring. Part 17 already has a thread inside, while 17.1 has a space for an M4 nut. Go ahead and install everything and check how it moves. Install 2 M4 nuts and attach part 18. Then install part 25 on the left side. Now I install part 19. It's held in place by 2 M4 nuts and 2 M4 bolts, 16mm long. Part 19.1 is a reinforced version of part 19, useful if you are using a weaker filament. Part 19 and 19.1 can both rotate and fold, which may be annoying for some, but this design lets the stock fold. If you want a fixed stock that doesn't move, there are versions for that. Part 19.2 is the standard fixed version and 19.3 is the reinforced one. These don't rotate, but also won't fold anymore. Now I install part 20. For this you'll need a piece of filament 18mm long. I usually fix it in place with a hex key first and then swap it with filament. Check how it works. The dust cover should open and close easily. If it doesn't close properly, it might just need to wear in slightly. You can also sand it down a bit. Part 20 is modeled after the real SR-2M cover and doesn't have a Picatinny rail. If you want to mount an optic, there's an adapter available for download. Part 20.1 is another option. It has a Picatinny rail built in, so you can mount optics directly. Next is part 21. You'll need a 15mm piece of filament for this one. Now I glue part 23 to part 22. Attach the whole thing using an M4 nut and a 40mm M4 bolt. Because of the size of the pistol, part 22 can only be installed in the unfolded position. If you want a folded front grip, print part 22.1 instead and use that. Swapping them takes just a couple of minutes, even out in the field. Then I install part 24. To put it in, pull it back and then down. Finally, I attach part 4. It can rotate. If you don't want it to move, you can fix it with a piece of filament about 30mm long. The filament can easily be removed from the button or the front. At this point, the base assembly of the SR-2M kit is complete. Side Picatinny rails are attached using 2 M4 nuts and 2 M4 bolts, 10mm each. Also, when installing the side Picatinny rails on the handguard, be careful. If the bolts you use are too long, the cover might not close properly. To install a top Picatinny rail, you'll need an adapter. Install 4 M3 nuts and 4 M3 bolts, 20mm long. Don't tighten them all the way yet. Put the rail in place. Then finish tighten the bolts. To install the battery, remove the handguard by pulling it upwards. You'll also find the hop-up adjustment in the same area. To fold the stock, press the button on the bottom, pull the stock slightly towards you and lock it in the front position. To unfold the stock, gently pull it back and up, it will release. Then press the button on the bottom again and lock the stock in place. Important! Do not put pressure on the rear part of the stock and don't try to force it up or down. A tracer unit can be installed on the 40mm counterclockwise thread of the SR-2M or inside the suppressor. There are versions of the suppressor with and without thread. Make sure the tracer wheel use matches those specifications. Opening the suppressor might be a bit tricky because of its shape. That's why there are small holes on the body. You can use pliers to grip it. There are also an arrow showing which direction to twist for opening. It's possible to fit a high-capacity battery under the dust cover. To access that space, press the button and open the cover. Be careful when opening it. If it snaps open too fast, it could break. Here are the approximate dimensions of batteries that will fit under the cover. To fire the gun, choose the firing mode. A single dot means semi-auto, 3 dots means full auto. At the end, just a reminder, this is still plastic, so treat it gently. A second video will be released later where I'll go into more detail about the kit's features and how it was developed. Also thanks to Eastern Guards for help with testing it. More upgrades are already in work, including new stock types and muzzle devices. You can find a gameplay video using this kit at the link. That's all for now. It was the Arthur. channel about airsoft. Good luck!